Hey everybody, back again. Took a little bit of a rest. We're gonna talk a little bit more about um, Arrow season one, and I got a list here. So we got I already covered about Oliver Queen, John Diggle, Maura Queen, Felicity Smoke, Dinah Laurel Lance, and how I like their characters and what their characters mean in that season, and certain little things in there. I might revisit some of their names and everything, like I've been doing with Thea, Roy, Tommy, Quentin, and even Malcolm. But I want to talk a little bit more about some of the more secondary and tertiary characters. Um, let's start with Roy Harper, and it's a little out of text here because I wrote them in a certain order from my memory. But let's talk about Roy Harper. And I said in my last video that I feel that Roy Harper is quite possibly one of the best written characters in this series. Roy Harper has been around since the 1970s. He was literally Green Arrow's first sidekick. He was the first sidekick. He was supposed to be to Green Arrow what Robin is to Batman. He was wide-eyed, wanted to save the world, and I feel that they did a damn good job with this character. And I feel that in season one, introducing him as a street urchin that basically almost in that Jason Todd feel, that he has a lot underneath his interior. He has a lot of weight. He has a lot of story, and there's a lot more they could do with his character. I applaud Colton Haynes for this. I think that he looked the part like Roy Harper. I have I have a true admiration for how he came in for this character. He fit Roy Harper. And I think that he would fit also as Jason Todd because he has that look of Jason Todd, very square jawed, very chiseled features. Excuse me. That is very well needed for that show. Just like um, Stephen Amell has a chiseled features, and so does John Diggle. Some of them have very chiseled features to themselves. But Roy, making him a street urchin, and his first interactions in his show was he steals Thea's purse, and I feel that that was a very great way to introduce him, and that Thea wanted to be a friend and try to help, and then all of a sudden, from friendship, they actually have a relationship, and I feel that that was very well needed for his character. Um, to the point where he now is feeling like he wants to hunt, he wants to find the Green Arrow, he wants to find this hooded character, and he wants to be trained by him. He wants to be a hero. He wants to find more to his life, and I feel that they did a really good job with him, and they kind of secondaried him a little bit in season three. Season two, he was very prominent. He was very well needed. It made sense. It made absolute sense to his character, and adding him to the roster was very well needed situation. Um, I have very little to talk about Roy. I think that they did a damn good job with him and they knew what to do with his character. It's poor taste that they knew what to do with Roy, but they didn't know what to do with Dinah. With Laurel. Sorry. With Laurel. They did not know what to do with her character. They wanted to make her this damsel in distress, and also the parallels that she's supposed to be like Rachel Dawes, and I felt that that was a stupid disservice. They should never made her like Rachel Dawes. Like Rachel Dawes from the Dark Knight, she couldn't defend herself. This Laurel could, and you made her almost like a discount version of her. That the only thing she was there for was she was a pretty face that could get doe-eyed around the big hunky guys. But I don't want to again. I'll revisit certain characters. But Roy Harper, very well done. Very well done. I think that his character was very well needed, and he came in at a great time to introduce not Arsenal, the Red Arrow. He was called Speedy first, and then he was called the Red Arrow later. And then he was called Arsenal much later. And then he took on to Arsenal because he always has an arsenal of weaponry. And it was very well needed. Um, let's get to Quentin. Paul Blackthorne did a great job with this character. They made him a broken man, and that's what was needed in that show. They needed a broken person other than Oliver, and having Quentin be that figuratively a foil, not in the traditional sense, but more as he's there to always constantly be on the Arrow's back. That he's there to be that character that will always keep looking for Green Arrow, and he's like the Commissioner Gordon. They did a really good job with that. He's not Commissioner Gordon. He's not James Gordon. Quentin Lance in this series is a drunkard. He in a way he's bigoted in a way. And I don't mean in the more modern sense. It's like it's his way or the highway. He's very obstinate, and he's very selfish in certain ways too. He's willing to put a bug on his daughter just to go find the hood. He didn't care. He didn't care. He had all these police officers pointing guns at him, even though Laurel was in the way. Are you kidding me? And I can understand her upsetness. And he didn't understand that. He was more of the fact of he wanted to find this guy, and this guy is dangerous. Now, I don't excuse what he did, but I understood what he meant. Oliver is dangerous. He's killing people. It doesn't matter if they're bad guys. He is going against the law. That's like saying like murder is okay as long as it's justified. No, murder is not supposed to be okay. In our society, murder should not be okay. However, if it means the defense of people, sorry, people, if one person has to die for millions to live, that one person should make that sacrifice. And it sucks that people don't think about that very much. They think that every life is treasured, and it should be treasured. Every life should be treasured. But if millions of people are going to die over it, how can you look at other people? How can you look at that one guy and feel okay that that one guy made more of a difference than millions of other people? And that's why Quentin was trying to get through to everybody. Like, no, this guy is a killer. He doesn't care about people, and he's a psychopath. And he is. Oliver at that first season was a complete psychopath. He didn't give two S's about who they were. He didn't care what families. He didn't care about anything like that. He didn't care about true justice. He cared about what's right and what's wrong. He was very black and white about it. These are bad guys. They got to go. Sorry. And he never saw himself as a good guy. He saw himself as an avenging angel that was just taking out these bad guys to clean up his city. And again, Quentin Lance was trying to illustrate to everybody is that he doesn't know it's Oliver at the time, but this hooded guy is going to be the ruination of this city. And throughout most of these seasons, he really was. There was a lot of times he didn't listen to everybody, and he just did what he felt was the right move, and it made things worse. Okay, I think that they did Quentin Lance very well, and Paul Blackthorne did a damn good job with the character, and I personally felt like there were a lot of times I kind of wanted him to go away, and I also felt the fact of that the relationship that he has with Dinah, with Laurel, of course, makes sense. He's trying to justify going after this hooded character because he can't put someone to justice. He can't bring Oliver to justice for the murder of his daughter, which it was an accident. I mean, it was a ship. The ship went down. What was Oliver to do? He's just a regular guy. He's not gonna be that guy that's gonna be able to throw his life on the line at the time. He was gonna just save his own skin. I mean, that's just the way it was at the time. And also, he should have blamed Sarah for being on that boat. It wasn't Oliver. Oliver only offered to take her there. She said, yes, I'm going to do it. She did not give two S's about Laurel's feelings. She didn't care. And that's revisited in season 2. And I'll get into that when we get into season 2. Now, we're going to get to quite possibly next to Felicity, one of the most useless, unneeded characters in this series. And don't get me wrong, I think Willa Holland is a great girl. She's a great young woman, and she has a great future ahead of her. But Thea Dearden Queen in my personal opinion, is in the first season the worst written character in this season. Flat, flat. They did not know what to do with her. They made her very obstinate. They made her selfish. They made her stupid, and they made her very emo for no apparent reason. Like she always got into people's faces, and it's like, are you kidding me? And they made her that stereotypical rich girl that just because she has money, her family has a name, that she can do whatever the hell she wants. She wants to quote unquote have fun, and she at the very beginning of the season when Oliver comes back, she's like, "Oh, you're back, okay." And I'm like, wait a minute, shouldn't she be like, oh my God, Oliver? And she runs up and gives him a huge hug and everything else. Like she's excited to see her brother again. But she was more like, huh, so you're alive. And I'm like, really? Okay. And then most of the time when Oliver was off by himself or this and that and he wasn't talking, she got pissed off because he wasn't talking to her. She wasn't talking to anybody. And I go, why are you getting pissed off at this guy for? I understand. I do. I completely understand. Like you feel that he should be opening up and talking about this island and just healing. But it's like, are you kidding me? You okay, if you've been through a traumatic event, you're not talking to nobody. You you want to figure it out for yourself and you want to try to figure out the answers. You're not going to open your whole heart out. You're not, and then on top of that, some people just don't want to internalize it a little bit at least before they can start opening up. And that's why I say I feel that Oliver Queen in the first season, they did it very well because when Oliver got to Laurel and he realized that, hey, if I take care of this undertaking, there's no need for the hood anymore. I cleaned up my dad's acts. I avenged his wrongs. I can now open myself up to somebody again. He could be able to do it. And he went to the first person he went to was Laurel because that's what his whole that was his character arc was. It was to dump the arrow and get to Laurel. Thea was always headbutting against him. They were always headbutting against each other, and it just made no sense for her character. She, the doctor said it best. The person that left that island is not the same Oliver anymore. That's not the same Oliver. He could try to be that Oliver, but he won't be that Oliver because there's some things that happen on an island that in a way won't make sense to it won't make sense to him. And what he had to do to survive won't make sense. And I feel that Thea's character was consistently always being that character where you got these secrets and everything else, and why won't you talk to me? And it goes, well, honey, calm down and just be there for him. He doesn't have to always open up everything, and that's why I feel that a lot of people don't understand that about certain people. Like, hey, there's certain people out there who just don't want to talk about things, and that's perfectly fine. Just be there for them, and maybe one day they'll open up. Maybe one day they'll talk about it, and there are others that will never open up, but they have a very healthy mindset. It's like, hey, they're able to internalize it and make it go away. And having Thea being always that annoying little sister was, to me, was a very huge misstep on Willa Holland. And I'm like, this girl's 17 years old. Why is she acting like she's 14? Why is she acting? No, actually, no, 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 no. Let's scratch that. Why is she acting like she's 12? Why is she being that little sister that's throwing temper tantrums because she's not getting what she wants? She's 17. That means that what Roy was saying about her is all you are is just a rich princess, and she gets butthurt, she gets angry over it. And I go, if you're getting angry over it, that means it must be true. In a way, it must be true to you. You must know that you are that rich princess girl that everyone basically knows you to be. And to me, I'm going, that makes sense. It's like she's not a really well written character. She's made to be that CW teenager teeny bopper that basically everyone go, whoa, oh, wow, that she's cool and everything else. I can relate to that. No, you shouldn't be able to relate to that because no person is gonna flip out. Okay, you okay, if you lost a loved one for a shipwreck and you don't see him for 5 years, yeah, she's gonna be that way. She's gonna mourn, and then all of a sudden she's gonna change her whole outlook on life and start experimenting and most likely having sex, drugs, alcohol. She's gonna do everything to get attention because she's pissed off that she lost somebody. Understandable. But when that person comes back in your life, why in the world would you um the first time you see them, you don't run up and give them a hug. You don't run up and just basically just shower them with the emotions that you've been holding back this whole time. And that doesn't make sense. To me, it makes no sense. It's like they don't know how to write her character. You could have kept the narrative that she's still going to be doing the drugs and the alcohol and doing all this stuff, but she should have been very loving towards her brother because he's back. He's alive, and now she didn't just lose her dad and her brother. She just lost her dad, and that would have kept going that narrative. But for her to be just like offstandish and then go, well, if you start talking and maybe I'll start talking. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? That makes no sense. That makes no sense to her character. That makes no sense to the narrative, not even the narrative of the realism that's supposed to be there. If Oliver doesn't want to talk about it, that should be okay. As long as he's there and he wants to help you, that should be more than enough. But she just wants him to be that same old Oliver, and it goes, no, that Oliver is gone. That Oliver died in that first year of that island. That Oliver is gone. He's slowly changing into something else. And it's like, what do you want? It's like, and I feel that bringing in Roy and having him open her eyes for the first time, like, hey, dude, your brother is gone. Your brother is gone. Why do you want that same old brother again? That brother that basically is drunk half the time, screwing around with women. That's not a brother you want again. And she goes, no. It's like, well, then what do you want? Like, calm down. Your brother's there. He's alive. Be happy he's there. And I feel that was the thing that really irked me, and I think that in a way it irked Willa Holland. Like, are you kidding me? You're making me that stupid little sister that everyone hates. What? Why would you want to write her that way? And giving her that much of the weight of her character, and then over time the development of her character, she grew into her own right, and she was perfectly fine and okay. But except they made a couple of other knocks that really didn't make any sense. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? This is stupid. Okay, but Thea Queen is quite possibly in season one the worst written character of the season. She's the worst. There, I mean, next to her is most likely going to be Tommy. And I hate to say that. I think Felicity's better written than Tommy, but she's not even supposed to be there, honestly. But Tommy's character, which now I'm going to get to, he's the next worst written. However, he's only worse written towards the end of the season. He was great in the first season. He was just he wasn't getting back his old friend. He just saying, you're missing out on stuff. Let's catch you up. That's all he was doing. He did not want old Oliver back. He was happy his friend was back. The way that they wrote Tommy in the first part of the season is how they should have wrote Thea. You got your brother back. Why are you complaining? Let's just catch him up. Let's go have fun. Let's go and, drink beers, have sex, and have all these women and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. But it's like they wrote Thea to be, and I'm like, no, don't do that to her character. She should be wanting her brother around. She should be um missing him all the time. Like, it's like she should have abandonment issues, and that to me would have made a lot more sense to her character. It would have made a lot more sense to the narrative, and it would have made more sense to us as an audience, and not feel that Thea is a wasted character. I feel that she was very wasted in the first season. They could have just they honestly they could have not had her in the series, and in that first season, and we'd have been like, oh, okay, because she did nothing. Tommy was more important to the story than Tommy was more important to the season than Thea was. Thea was useless, and but um Tommy Merlin, great in the first part of the season. When he finds out that his dad, when he finds out that his friend is the archer, I went, okay, so where we're gonna go with this? How are we gonna do this? And when they got to the parts where he was trying to be that individual that was covering from all the time, I was like, okay, so that's gonna be the relationship for the rest of the season. However, I didn't like the fact they made him the third wheel and of the Oliver and Laurel relationship. I feel that Tommy had his time with her, and that was during the 5 years. They could have easily did a couple of flashbacks to the 5 years where they were talking. She was probably mourning, and then Tommy was mourning, and then it just happened. Like it was one of those passionate nights that they just consoled each other, and then it just kept happening. And that would have been perfectly fine. Like it was that would have been understandable that these two have been together. They've been friends for a very long time, and they're mourning over losing a friend and a fiance. And but they made it like it was there was more there. And I go, no, you shouldn't have done that. And having Tommy um having Tommy be that boyfriend for her really didn't make sense. They kind of in a way for me it it wasted him. I feel that they should have had him more focused on his dad, that he was being closer to his dad, and his dad and I'll get to Malcolm because I think, and I still say this in this video, and let's say this in season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5. He is the best damn villain for this series, and they wrote him very, very well. They made him do the opie dopey. They made him opie dopey in the later seasons. That made no sense. It'll try to make sense out of nonsense. It makes no sense why they did that to his character. He should have been still the most formidable fighter against Oliver. I don't care how old Burrowman is and Malcolm. Malcolm is too smart. Malcolm is too skilled, and Malcolm has too much mental fortitude to be that type of a character. To be a person that Oliver can defeat in 5 moves. That makes no sense. That absolutely makes no sense. Um, but let's get back to Tommy. Just a little bit more about Tommy, and then I'll hit Malcolm, and I'll just be talking for hours on Malcolm because of how much I love John Burrowman. Um, but I personally feel that Tommy's character was wasted a little bit towards the end of the season, and having him just basically during the night of the not the enlightenment, the undertaking, he went to go save Laurel. That makes sense. That makes sense to his character. He would go and save her because he knows that she'll be in danger. And having him die and Oliver mourn over his death, I was like, okay, well, you bookend his story. Okay, what for? There was a lot more you could have done with Tommy. And that's where a lot of us were going, they're going to bring him back. They're going to bring back Tommy and have it that someone brings him back to life, and he's going to take over his father's position as the new Dark Archer. Okay, let's get going. But they never did it. And that's because the actor went on to do other shows. And again, if the actor wants to do that, hey, that's perfectly fine. That means that they had no forethought of bringing back Tommy Merlin. I think that was a mistake. They should have brought back Tommy Merlin. They should have brought him back to life. They should have had John Burrowman just be that first season villain, and he comes back, and then you have Tommy's gone. There's a lot of stuff you could have done there, and it would have been so much there. And having Tommy be that villain against Oliver, it would bring back so much season 1 memories, and it would be such a huge hit to his heart that he has to be, this is the guy, that this is his villain, this is the villain that he's gonna have to deal with. That would ruin Oliver's character. It would break his heart. It would destroy every growth that he's made in every one of the seasons, that the villain that's been throughout this whole thing has been Tommy. Tommy's the one that's doing it. And I'll be like, everybody be like, dude, this is the greatest written series season of all time, because Oliver became a hero because of Tommy. He changed his whole outlook on how to take care of criminals because of Tommy. Did a few missteps, but to have it where Tommy comes back and he's going to be that villain, he's going to be the new Dark Archer. Do you understand how much of a character hit that would be to Oliver's character, to be to Oliver, how it would be to Diggle, how it would be to Felicity, how it would be to Roy, how it would be to Thea, and how would it be to Quentin and Laurel, that the villain they're going to be dealing with throughout the season is Tommy. Tommy is the new Dark Archer, and it's not for the fact that he lost. I mean, he has his memories and just doesn't care and wants to kill Oliver. It's somebody implanted all these memories into him, and he believes that Oliver did this, that Oliver did kill his dad, that Oliver did this, Oliver did that, and you have Tommy just go completely broke all over freaking everybody. He does the Breaking Bad and literally starts killing people, leaving it for Oliver, leaving the city believing that Oliver is the one that's doing it. Do you understand how breaking that would be for Oliver's character? That quite possibly one of his greatest enemies is his best friend, is literally his brother. And no matter what people can say that, oh no, John Diggle's his brother. No, 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 no. If written correctly, Tommy is his brother. Tommy is more of a brother to him because he's known him since they were in diapers more than John Diggle. John Diggle is a great character. Hands down, he's a great character. But you can't put that over an established character. Tommy Merlin's been around for a very long time. He is an established DC character. I'm not saying that John Diggle isn't. He is now a DC established character in the Green Arrow universe. He is in the Green Arrow universe as of right now since Rebirth. But before that, no one heard of John Diggle. No one did. No one gave two S's. But everyone heard of Roy Harper. Everyone's heard of Merlin. Everyone's heard of Dinah Laurel Lance. Everyone's heard of Moira Queen. Moira Queen was a villain for the Green Arrow series back in the 2000s, back in the 2000s, and even in the 90s when Oliver Queen came back for the first time, came back to life because of was it the Spectre? I think it was because of the Spectre when oh man, I forgot his name. Hal. When Hal became the Spectre and brought all these heroes back to life during Identity Crisis, there was Moira Queen, and you had Oliver dealing with all this stuff that's going on with Moira because Moira is being that villain for the whole series. I was perfectly fine with that. I would have been fine with Tommy coming back in like season 4 as a villain. I'd have been like, dude, bring it, let's do this, let's break Oliver down once again and have Tommy be that consistent villain. And I'd be perfectly fine with it. That's how I feel about Tommy's character. I feel that Tommy Merlin was a wasted character in the final parts of the season, and he was completely wasted, and they should have brought him back. They should have definitely brought him back, not as a hallucination, not as a consistent reminder of the good days and the type of person that Oliver could be. No, 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 no. Bring him back to be a villain. Make him that villain, and every fan will be like, oh my god. You're gonna have those occasional people go, that doesn't make sense, why do they have to do that, that's so stupid, that's something you can find in a comic book. Well, duh. And also it makes sense for the narrative of Oliver's character. He's always constantly bridging between good and evil and what to do and what not to do. He's always talking about his darkness, he's always talking about this, always talking about that, and bringing him to the man, making the villain, the main villain of this of this season, the man that turned him into the hero because of his death, and he's coming back because he wants to kill Oliver for taking away everything from him. Think about that. Think about how big of an episode that would be. That would be more monumentous than season 2 against Slade Wilson. It would be more. Because all of us would be invested. We'd be like, dude, Tommy is back and he's the villain? Whoa, okay, we're set. Let's do this. It's Tommy. Okay, great, let's do this. We would be more hyped for Tommy than we would have been for Malcolm. And I'll get to Malcolm right now because I will say right here and now, Malcolm is the best damn villain they ever wrote. Because he is, I'm not going to say the word he's right, but he is extremely relatable. Because we all have seen or heard those stories of people listening to their loved ones' final words multiple times, and we're all thinking, holy crap, they should stop doing that because that can make them go crazy. That's the driving force for Malcolm Merlin. He had to listen to his wife's final words, and he thought that she was just bothering him. Are you asking me here? This man thought that his wife was just bothering him and she's fine. I got work to do. And he didn't realize that his wife was dying on the street. And like he said, people just walked by, thought that she was just a beggar. And it's like, are you kidding me? Oh wow, that's heartbreaking. His wife is a pillar of that community. She basically built a hospital for the people of the Glades, and no one helped her. No one ran over and got her and tried to get her to the hospital to save her life. Are you freaking kidding me? And and that's why I feel that in a way, Malcolm's reasoning to doing what he's doing, it makes sense. It makes absolute sense. Why pour our hard-earned money into fixing this area when no one wants it to be fixed? And having that episode called, I believe it's called The Undertaking, is the backstory of how this undertaking came to be. And you have Robert sitting there saying, "Well, if we got to take care of Adam Hunt and Martin Simmons, we have to take care of all these guys if we're ever going to clean up what's going on in the Glades." And Malcolm says, "Dude, we can get rid of them, but someone else, they're weeds." Does that sound kind of familiar? They're weeds. You poke one up, another one takes its place. So he felt that no matter what they do to clean up the Glades, it wouldn't make a difference. It wouldn't make a dent. And also, it made sense it made absolute sense that that he didn't want to put any more money into it, because why? His wife died. The Asian guy, I forgot his name. I'm sorry. His daughter got raped down there. What the hell is going on? We give the money to the police, but they're not gonna be able to do anything because they're confined they have to adhere to the law. And the people down in the Glades will only protect people down in the Glades. That's the reason why bad guys can go down the Glades and disappear. It's just like, holy crap, dude. There's a lot of bad stuff going on there. Let's just waste it and rebuild it. Simple as that. Get rid of it all. And Robert's like, but you're killing thousands. Okay, well, okay, that's fine. But let's get the people out of there. He goes, no, no, get rid of all of them. They're all insects. They're all cockroaches. They don't want to live with civilized people. They deserve what happens to them. And I go, wow. So to me, I understood what he was talking about, but yeah, that's very extreme. And I feel that Malcolm's character makes more sense storyline wise than anything else. Now, when they introduced the fact of the Dark Archer back in Year's End, the mid-season finale, and Oliver gets his butt handed to him like he stole something. Like basically, Oliver got his butt kicked as worse as what he's been doing to thugs throughout the first half of that season. I mean, he got completely butt raped, and I'm sorry, I'm not saying to say the word. He got completely destroyed. Um, they got completely destroyed. He got completely destroyed by Malcolm, and then they fight again, and Malcolm proves that, dude, you can't beat him. And I'm going, that makes a lot of sense. This man is probably way more determined. He's way more focused. He knows what he wants. He knows what his desires. He's very, very intelligent, and we don't know who trained him. He said that he went to Nanda Parbat. And I go, okay, so he must have studied under the sensei, because in DC Comics, there's only a few people who stay in Nanda Parbat, and that's either Ra's al Ghul, which is not very much because he doesn't stay in that area very much, or it's the sensei, and then there's the teacher, and there's O Sensei. So he must have studied under one of those guys, but we find out in season 2 who it was, but I think that at the end of this season, they did it very well because he sacrificed and took out Malcolm Merlin. And I was like, holy crap, that was by him stabbing himself with the arrow that went straight through his shoulder plate, and it poked Malcolm right here. I was like, oh wow, dude, he got him, and then he dropped him to the ground, and Malcolm just fell unconscious, but he got away. I mean, he fell unconscious, but he got away, and but it destroyed the it destroyed everything about Malcolm's legacy, because the I'm sorry, the Merlin Global Group got completely dismantled. It fell in obscurity, and it went in complete disarray. It was the rise of Queen Consolidated, and I was like, okay, let's see this. Let's keep going. My only problem, and this is going to happen in later seasons, is how well did they screw up on Malcolm's character. Now, we're going to get into the season one wrap up, talk a little bit more about what they did in the season and how I personally feel about the season. I think that they did a really good job in the first season, showing that Oliver is a murderer, and I'm perfectly fine with him being a killer. I was perfectly fine with him killing people. But in the later seasons, I feel that they really did a huge misstep, and and I'll get into that a little bit later. But I believe in the first season they did a really good job setting everything up and make him not into a hero. He's just a vigilante right now. He's a crime fighter. He's now changing his priorities now. His dad's rights have been wronged, and there's nothing else that he can do. So now he could possibly just try to save as many people as he can and try to change the minds and the hearts of Starling City at the time. Um, I liked Laurel Lance. I like all these characters. Don't get me wrong. I like these characters. I have my huge disgruntledness towards a few of them. Um, but I still like the actors. I think the actors have done a really great job with this series. Um, and some of it is more the fact of what they could do better. And that's what I'm gonna get into now. And I'll talk a little bit more about the wrap up in the middle of my how I would fix it. Um, how I would fix it, and it's simple. It's very very simple. Fix Laurel Lance. Simple as that. Fix Laurel Lance. They should never have made her a lawyer. They should never have made her a lawyer. What they should have done was they should have made her a tomboy. They should have made her that rough and tumbled girl. But being the daughter of a police of a policeman, she has a set standard, and you're like, okay, but throughout that season, you should have had Laurel with a good job, and after Oliver's during the whole 5 years, Laurel should have been a completely different person. Like, she's completely different. And they're like, what? He goes, yeah, Laurel's got a job and blah blah. And he goes, Laurel's got a job. Like, she basically she worked at she should have been working at a mechanic. They should have had her as she's not a she's a gearhead. Like, she literally knows how to fix motorcycles and cars and such like that. That I'd have been like, okay, great. You had Katie Cassidy being that rough and tumble type of girl, and I think that she could have easily have done it. Um, because the thing about Katie Cassidy playing as Donna Laurel Lance is Katie Cassidy can have that B face. She can have that easy B face, and um, but you can also see is she could be that girly girl, and it's like that's what I felt that they should have did. They should have not made her a lawyer. They should have made her as um a mechanic. Like, she literally works at a mechanic shop. And what attracted Oliver to her is there's a sexiness with that. Like, there's a sexiness to Laurel. And the reasoning of why Quentin doesn't like Oliver is he thinks that he's only using her because she is in a way lowbred. Like, he's thinking he's just down here because she's easy pickings. And but they they have a relationship, but when he dies on an island, I'm sorry, not dies on an island, but when he disappears, she completely changes her whole outlook on things. She goes, "No, I'm not. I can be better than this." And Quinn's like, "What the hell are you talking about? You love the motorcycles. You love cars. What the hell are you talking about? You like fixing things." And she goes, "Yeah, I want to fix things, but not like that." And that's when she wants to get herself into. She does things in more in the law, like with her dad. And he goes, "You're not being a policeman." She goes, "No, I don't want to be a policeman. Hell no." She goes, "I want to help people." So she gets herself into community services, and that's what she becomes part of the the CRI or something like that. Um, and she helps with that. And because she knows the glades, she knows the streets, she's easy for people to be able to relate to and talk to. So when you get Oliver coming back after the 5 years, she's she know, and also you can still introduce Sarah and say that Sarah's the girly girl. Sarah is the true girly girl. And now you have them completely do a 180 on both of them. Like now Laurel is the girly girl. She's dressed up, she's clean, she's proper. She doesn't like to drink, she doesn't like to drink beers with the boys, stuff like that. She's trying to be the girly girl. She's trying to be the more upstanding citizen. And Oliver's like, wow, like, and and now he's the bad boy in more of he's the rough and tumble, and she's more of the dainty little girl, and he's sitting there going, "You've changed." She goes, "Well, yeah, you've changed too." And then, but she knows something's up. Like she knows a person that's been through a lot of s, and she could see it. So, how I fix it is Dinah Lance. And throughout the whole season, you don't do this will they won't they. It's more on the fact of she wants to get back together with him. She doesn't care. She will do whatever it takes. And then when you introduce Felicity into the mix, and I would have still introduced Felicity. I'm sorry, not Felicity. Felicity into the mix. You create in her she in her mind creates. There's this triangle now. There's this huge triangle, and that there's way more going on than anything else. And I personally feel that having Felicity there, and she's that consistent reminder of the type of girl that she used to be, you now create a level of character build for Laurel. What does she want to do with her life? And you also have Tommy. He's there, and they had their they had their 2 or 3 years of romance, but she kind of tells him that the only reason why she slept with him is because he was there. She still loves him, she still cares about him, but she doesn't want him to fall in love with her. That's what she wants. Do not fall in love with me. But Tommy already did. He liked that slice of pie, but it's like what do you want him to do about it? So she kind of tells him, "Do not fall in love with me," because she still wants Oliver. And and to end her arc, where she's now going to become the Black Canary, you make it where Quentin dies. Quentin dies and Tommy dies. So she loses Tommy, she loses her dad, and when she goes to Tommy, Tommy dies. Tommy dies during the scuffle with when she goes to CRI, Tommy's waiting for her, and the whole place goes down because Tommy's like, "I was waiting for you to get back," but she's no. Tommy meets her there, and then he dies getting her out of the place, and she's met by the other police, and that's when she tells them that I'm so sorry, Laurel. She's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Quinn, he's gone." And she's like, "What? No, my dad's not gone. He's supposed to be over here." And he goes, "No, no, he wasn't. He left and he went off on his own." She goes, "No, no," and she just completely breaks down. And you're like, "Wow." She's like, "No, my dad cannot die. My daddy is not dead." And you're like, "Wow." And that's a lot of acting from Katie Cassidy's character. And now she lost two people. And then at the end of the season, you have it where Oliver goes to her. He goes to her house and says, and literally wants to be with her. He wants to be with her, but she leaves a note and says, "Oliver." She goes. It goes, "Dear Oliver, for the past 5 years, I've been living in the past, and I lived it through Tommy, and now I live in it through you. She goes, I love you. I want to be with you. However, the loss of my dad has made me realize that I can't. I can't do that to myself anymore. I need to find out who I need to be. And then you have her ride on a motorcycle and she's riding into Bloodhaven. And you're like, okay, so she's in Bloodhaven. And you see her stop off and you see her take off her helmet and put it onto the thing and turn it off and you see her looking up and it says Grant's Gym. And you're like, Grant Gym? And you're like, oh yes, and then and this is all being narrarized, and you see Oliver just looking at this paper, and she's basically telling him that no matter what, you're always going to be the man of my life. But right now, I lost my dad, and we lost Tommy. I'm back to the way I was before. I'm back to, um, I don't know what to do, and I know that you're here. I know you want to be with me, and trust me, I want to be with you too. But like you said, and you have this episode where he kind of tells her that there are times where I need to step back and reevaluate who I am. And she goes, and there's a time I need to step back and reevaluate my life. And you see him getting teary eyed, and he nods because he's realizing, yes, she does need to do this. And you see her knocking on the door, and you see this old gizzled man going, huh? And she goes, hey Ted, and he goes, Laurel, why are you here? And she goes, my daddy is dead. He opens the door, goes, come on in. And she goes, and she just walks in, and you're like, wow, that's it. That's the start of the Black Canary Wildcat relationship. And I'm not saying like they're gonna get romanticized. No, this guy's old, and you can also illustrate that this guy was a military man with Quentin. Quentin used to be a military man, but he got out within the first couple of years because Ted Grant got him out. Ted Grant got him out. Ted Grant was a huge military guy, and you can introduce that. You can introduce all this new stuff. That's what I would have done with Laurel. I would have killed Quentin Lance because that was needed. That was needed for her push to becoming the Black Canary. Not her sister's death, but her father's death. So then in the later seasons, we're not watching Paul Blackthorne's character just get wasted every single season, just being that guy who gives advice. Okay, 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 and then he's just getting wasted. By his death, it sparks Laurel to becoming the Black Canary and getting the training and meeting Ted Grant and going to Bloodhaven. And I know people are going to be like, okay, but they're going to say, well, Paul Blackthorne was not wasted in the rest of the seasons. I go, yes, he actually was. Season 2, they didn't really need him. They really didn't need him. Actually, he was pivotal to a lot of the stories that was going on, but you can write around that. You could make it where it was another officer who's getting himself involved. Introduce another officer. You can introduce a brand new guy that's going to be that could be doing this, going after the Green Arrow. It's perfectly fine. Season 3, he was useless. Season 4, he was really useless. Season 5, he was ridiculously useless. So I was like, are you kidding me, dude? He was useless. Season 6 is finally when they bookend his story and he dies. He bookends his story and he dies. And I go, you had this guy on for 6 years and you wasted him. You wasted him for 4 of it. What the hell? Paul Blackthorne deserves a lot more than that. This guy's a great actor. But having him be that drunken guy, and then all of a sudden he sacrifices himself for the city, for his daughter, and his daughter is sitting there trying to rebuild what's going on with her, and all of a sudden not just loses her dad, but loses another best friend. It destroys her. And then you have it where at the very end of that letter, she literally tells Oliver, I know your secret, and I am proud of the man you are. This is who you are, and never change. Love, your pretty bird. And you're like, wow, because that was his nickname for her. That was his nickname when they were little kids, because she was always dancing and everything else, and she was just this pretty bird. And Quentin calls her. He calls her the screeching canary because she was a baby. She always screeched. And then he's like, nah, let's take that. He goes, we'll call you Pretty Bird. And she goes, really? That's so stupid and lame. He goes, He go and when they grow up, he keeps calling her Pretty Bird. It's like it's the same thing for Thea being called Speedy. Like, oh my god, dude. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. Like Laurel adores the name. She adores the name. She adores the name Pretty Bird. Even though she's a rough and tumbled girl, it makes sense. He sees her as, you are not that rough and tumble girl. You are extremely beautiful, extremely sexy, and she doesn't see herself that way, and that's fine. It fits the narrative of the character. Um, the other thing I would fix is Felicity Smoke's character. I would have it where she is physically attracted to Oliver. She's just scared of his mental state. She's scared that of if she does fall for him, what would the future hold for them? And John's character should be more as, you need to kind of hold off a little bit. There's a lot we don't know about Oliver. And also, one of my other nitpicks is that Felicity and John are talking to Oliver like he has a problem helping out his best friend, helping out Laurel. And I go, but wait a minute. How long have you known Oliver? A few months? Okay. How long has Oliver known Laurel? That's 15 years. You basically said Ted Gaynor is not a bad guy. I've known this guy since we were in military. My first tour in Afghanistan. He's saying, hey, he's on the list. But it's the same thing here. You're being bigoted into thinking like he can't change. Well, first of all, Laurel's an old friend of his. He can't allow her to get hurt. What the hell are you talking about? And this Ramus guy in that whole situation, that episode, I backed Oliver on it because I feel that Oliver was right. Dude, you could easily get Deadshot again. I mean, it's not like you can't get him. And on top of that, it's not hard to say, hey, create a situation, pay him his normal fee to go kill somebody, and then go grab him up. Simple as that. I mean, it's not hard. You're making it seem like you could never get. This was your only chance to get Deadshot. Dude? Are you kidding me here? Dude, all you got to do is put a word out and say, hey, I need someone murdered. I need the best. I need the best. And you get the channels, and you could be able to pick up Deadshot and pay him his normal fee. Give him a little bit extra on top of it because you know the type of target it is. Make it sweeten the pot. He'll come out. He'll be like, whatever, dude. Where you need to meet me? Go here, and then you be able to capture him. So I felt that him getting pissed off that Oliver was choosing Ramus than anything else was kind of stupid. And I know anybody who's listening to this be like, well, the same thing could be said about Ramus. They could easily bring, no, this guy is gonna disappear and you're never gonna find him again. And on top of that, he's going to China. He's not gonna be able to get extradited again. So he's never gonna leave China. So why the hell would he care? He's gonna have money over there. He's gonna have his offshore accounts and everything else, and they can't touch that, especially if it's in China. Can't touch it. You can't extradite that money. You can't touch it at all. So it's like he has money. So I feel that John's character and Felicity's character could be rewritten a little bit better. The other thing is Thea. They should never wrote her in this season. They should have wrote her in. What they should have done was they should have had her there for a few episodes and then wrote her off and said that, oh, she's going back to boarding school. She's going back to school overseas. Like she's going to like no, I'm not gonna say Cambridge or anything like that. Like no, she's going to a prestigious prep school, and she's screwing up there, but she's not doing bad, but it's like she could be doing a whole lot better. And that brings in us to know Thea, and then we can adapt everybody else, and then now we can bring in Thea and have her story lumped in, and we could grow with her character a little bit. That's how I feel that they should have did it. They should never had her in that whole season because her character made no sense. But it wouldn't have introduced Roy. I think that they could have easily still introduced Roy, and it would have been perfectly fine. Tommy's character could have been more like his dad, but softer. And I don't mean in a way where he's not tough, but I'm saying is that he's more lenient than his dad is. And his dad doesn't like that, but he also admires it because in a way he's not letting his son be tarnished by what he's going to do with this undertaking. He's doing it for Tommy, but he doesn't want his son to be tarnished. And he feels that if anything ever does get out, Tommy could be able to withstand it, and he could be able to move past what his dad is doing. He could be able to build a stronger Merlin global group. That's what I feel that they should have did with Tommy. They should have made Tommy like his dad in certain ways, but way more softer. Like, he's more compassionate than his dad is. His dad lost his compassion when he joined up with the group that turned him into the Dark Archer. Um um but yeah, I think that's it. I covered almost as much as I could think of. I might revisit it a little bit more when I watch season 2. But yeah, everybody, again, this is another little podcast. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about season 2 of Arrow, and I still want people not to get angry at me for thinking that I hate this show. No, I think Arrow is still probably one of the best shows. It's the leadership that they've done, and now we got Bev Schwartz doing these episodes, and a lot of it makes no sense. It's like it's contradicting the history of what it already built, and then some characters don't make no sense from what they were built from. The foundations. I'm not saying that they have to be exactly how they were, but I'm saying is that over the growth of their character, all of a sudden they're now going this way when they should have been just going straight. And I say from this very beginning right here, Malcolm's character should have died in season 2. They should have reintroduced him, and his character should have died, and that should have sparked Tommy becoming the new Dark Archer. And his hatred, his spite, his bitterness towards Oliver, because Oliver is the one that does it. He does it. He kills Malcolm, and Malcolm gave him no choice. When there was a choice, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Let Malcolm know that just don't do this. Like, he should have been more compassionate, but he wasn't. He just said nope, I'm not doing it, and just put an arrow through him anyway, and killed Malcolm. And that should have sparked Tommy becoming the overarching villain of this whole series. Like, it starts with Tommy making Oliver a hero, and it ends with Oliver's heroism that turns Tommy into his worst, most bitter, most dangerous enemy. And who trained him, and all the trainings and everything he's ever learned, it overtakes everything Oliver's ever learned. Everything that Tommy learned is much better than anything Oliver's learned. And when we get to season 3, it's gonna get so much more of a bitchy move. And I still believe that Tommy should be the overarching villain of this whole series. They should have brought him back. I think that this final season of Arrow, that should be Tommy. It should be Tommy coming back, and you're finding out, and you're wondering how the hell this happened. And I know narrative wise it doesn't make sense, because it introduced the Lazarus pits, and now they're talking about they can destroy the Lazarus pits. But there's ways, and that's what I'm saying is that's the whole part of this. How I would fix it. They should have set the president in the very beginnings of the season, that it should have been Tommy at the very beginning. It should have been Tommy being the main villain of this whole series, and it ends with Tommy. But I want to thank you. I hope that you guys are entertained. Thank you very much. You have a good day.